This is Sports Charlotte, the podcast about sports in Charlotte. I'm Herb White. I'm editor-in-chief of the Charlotte Post. This is Cameron Williams, who is a reporter at the Post. It is September 11, 2025, and we're talking, of course, about football.
What's going on?
Yeah, there's a lot of it in Charlotte. And we'll get started with the Charlotte 49ers, who are struggling to start the season. I think that's a fair assessment. They're 0-2. Oh, sorry. 0-2. O is part of the alphabet.
Oh, good gracious. Oh, where do we begin?
Yeah.
I'm the de facto Charlotte beat writer, and he gets all the fun covering Johnson C. Smith and their successes. But the Charlotte 49ers, new coach, new players. It's been a bit of a bumpy ride. Now, not to say they played easy opponents. I know App State, they've got pedigree with their football program, although they've had a lot of turnover. We talked about that last week, lost that game, didn't look good at all. Made some, I would say, slight improvements, especially on the defensive end. Now, look, Carolina hasn't proven themselves yet to be juggernauts by any stretch of the means. I like to see how the rest of their season progresses, but 20-3 result. Offense still stuck in neutral, as my headline last week suggested. I don't know if it's a scheme thing. I don't know if it's a familiarity thing, but the offense just can't get going.
Could it just be a talent thing?
I don't look, based on all these players' ratings and things like that. I mean, look, C.J. Stokes, a great running back. Henry Rutledge, I know he's been banged up. He's been injured. He's a solid running back. He was one of the players of the year in this state when he was at Charlotte Christian. I don't know where things can begin to improve. I know at least Tim Albin, the coach, thinks that Connor Harrell, the quarterback, has made some strides from week 1 to week 2, but it ain't proven in the scoreboard or on the scoreboard.
Mm-hmm.
He's known as a mobile quarterback. Pull the thing and run with it. That's
what mobility means.
I'm imploring and just begging for him to just make the right read. And
beseeching even.
That's a good one. There were so many plays against Carolina specifically where I think if he pulls and runs with it, he gets 5, 6, 7 yards, but hands it off, running back goes up the middle, clogged, loss of yards or no gain or 1 yard. And so I think the offense could make strides if Harrell was a little bit more mobile. Albin thinks that he could make more plays with his feet, but he was adamant this past Tuesday he doesn't want him running the ball double-digit times. And I'm thinking to myself, if it's putting points on the board, why not?
Yeah. It's almost like you want to keep him under wraps for some special occasion. Well, dude, if the name of the game is to put some fear in the defense and score some points, well, you're going to have to figure it out. And if you're not getting enough push to get your running backs going, you need to be able to spread that defense enough to say, well, you know what? We've got a quarterback who's more than capable of getting some things going. Then the defense has to adjust. Now it starts to open some possibilities for everybody else. And I understand you don't want to get your quarterback hurt, but you can't keep him in bubble wrap forever, especially if that quarterback is as good as you think he is with his legs. He hasn't necessarily proven it with his arm yet. Mm-hmm. So what are you going to do?
I just think you got to keep defenses honest, because if you come in known as a dual threat quarterback and you're not willing to get outside the pocket and do anything on the ground with your legs, then you become a pocket passer, and defenses can adjust to that, and they don't have to account for that. I mean, you just look at when Harrell was with UNC in 24 against Charlotte. He had 219 through the air, was 16 or 25, very efficient, but he also ran the ball 9 times for 40 yards and a touchdown.
Mm-hmm.
It's not to say this guy has to be 100 yards a game on the ground, but at least make defenses account for that.
Yeah.
And he hasn't done that to this point. And so I just think if you're not going to do that and you're not the best option passing, maybe they should give Grayson Loftus a shake. I know he played in that game against Carolina. He did have the 2 interceptions. One was the last second Hail Mary at the end of the game. But look, he looked pretty good overall. I thought Loftus looked decent, but Harrell's going to be the starter. Albin said they're not going to make any changes there, but he did say you could see all 3 quarterbacks at some point in the season. What's your favorite saying?
If you got 3, you have none.
So, on to this week.
Yeah.
Top 20 opponent in the FCS ranks in Monmouth. Scored over 40 points in each of their first 2 games. Yikes.
Well, the other side of that is at least it's an FCS opponent.
Charlotte has had their issues with FCS teams.
That's true, too. That is very true. And some results against FCS opponents have helped grease the skids for previous 49ers coaches. And
go ahead, say your favorite one.
What? Oh,
A&T.
yeah, Brad Lambert. I am convinced he lost his job because Charlotte lost to North Carolina A&T, and it was not even close. But that's when the Aggies were actually really good. So if you could schedule A&T now, that would be a different outcome, I think. But regardless, there are certain games you do not want to lose. You don't want to lose to an opponent from a lower level, in this case, FCS. You don't want to lose homecoming. You don't want to lose to your biggest rival. Any combination of those 3, people are showing up at your doorstep at the coach's office with tiki torches and pitchforks. And I don't know. I mean, Monmouth could potentially cause some issues here.
Do you think this is a make or break game?
I wouldn't want to say that because
first year coach.
Yeah, Tim Albin is just getting acclimated to the campus, to his players, the scheme. All that stuff has to mesh together. Now, granted, the results have been less than satisfactory the first 2 games, and losing to Monmouth, while I'm sure Charlotte fans, alums, and supporters would be aghast if they lost, I don't think now is the time to just say, you know what, get rid of this guy. He can't coach. It's like, you're only 3 games in. Give him a little bit of runway at least.
Yeah, but I don't think losing this game would extend the leash. I'll say that.
No. I mean, and not just win. I think he needs to have a comfortable win.
Oh, boy. Well, I will say this. I've been reading forums and, message boards and stuff, and there's one fan for Charlotte that thinks they're going to win this game 41-17.
Well, for Coach Albin's sake, I hope he does. That'll get some of the hounds off at least for 24 hours.
Yeah. Now they're going to have to do it with a very banged up team. It's very plug and play on the offensive line. I know center Johnny King, he's going to be out, or at least Albin said doubtful at best. So likelihood of him playing very slim. Running back Henry Rutledge saw his first game action of the season last week. Had a pretty solid run, but then he pulled himself from the game. He's had an MRI. They're going to do further evaluations to see what's really going on with him. I know it was a lower body injury. When I asked Tim in week 1 about his absence, because that was what was talked about preseason. Henry Rutledge, CJ Stokes. We saw a lot of Stokes, no Henry in that first game, and it came out that he was injured. We knew nothing about it. Defensive lineman DJ Burgess, he's going to be out for the year with an upper body injury. Wide receiver Jaden McGowan is also out for the year with a lower body injury. And then Sean Brown, receiver, he took a pretty big hit against UNC. Has not practiced, at least as of Tuesday, with a contusion. So Whew, it's a laundry list.
Misery on top of misery.
Can they win without all these players? Maybe, hopefully, but look, anything to give a top 20 FCS opponent any glimmer of hope is not a good thing.
No, it's not. But again, I also come back to this. The 49ers have not shown enough stoutness on offense to, even if the defense plays well, you don't know if they can muster enough points.
Mm-hmm.
And so you've got to be able, if you've got skill position people that you were counting on at the start of the season, if those folks are missing, somebody's going to have to step up. And to me, the obvious choice is going to have to be your quarterback. And if you've got a dual threat quarterback, you have to be able to make defenses honor the possibility of run as much as pass. And why you would want to keep this dude under wraps is beyond me. It's not like you got to run him 20 times. Or, you really are exposing him to a lot of trouble there. But let him rip off 3 or 4 runs. If he has some success, at least that puts the defense on notice that something else might be coming, and it opens the gates for everybody else.
Well, I think it's simple. I mean, a good run game opens up the pass game. Some would argue that a good pass game opens up the run game. I think it's more so the other way around. I think if you can establish the run, that's going to open up so much more in the pass game.
Because it's physicality that's involved.
Now, when you look at Monmouth, yes, they score a lot of points, but their defense is giving up a good bit of points too. 39 to Colgate, 28 to Fordham. I think if Charlotte's defense can hold this team to 21 points, I think it's a winnable game.
I can see that.
Because I think they're making enough strides in their offensive game to be able to put up, I'd say, 24 to 28 points against this team. But look, if you go out there and the defense doesn't perform the way it did after the first drive against Carolina, see, look, that was my biggest takeaway defensively is after they gave up the long 51-yard passing touchdown, they held Carolina 13 points the rest of that game. They should have been in that game. Their offense couldn't do anything. If your defense comes out on fire, forces a 3 and out, forces a field goal early, it gives you a little bit of life to say, okay, look, we didn't give up a touchdown. We're not playing behind the 8 ball. Let's go out there, score a touchdown of our own, get in front. And I think playing in front is going to be critical for this team, not just in this game, but even moving forward. You can't put yourself so far behind the sticks. Well, that's a whole other topic. But behind the 8 ball as far as on the scoreboard to where you're having to play catch up. Now, when it comes to putting yourself behind the sticks, the average down and distance on third down was 10.3 yards against Carolina.
That's not good.
No. Now, a lot of things factored into that. There were a couple of plays where the ball was snapped over Connor's head, and I get you're going to lose 15, 20 yards on a play like that, and that's really hurting. That's skewing the numbers a little bit. But still, even if you take away those 2 plays, I'm pretty sure their down and distance was over 5 yards to go on third down, and that's not efficient.
Yeah, because now you've taken away the possibility of the run. Now, everybody knows you more than likely they're going to have to throw the ball. But to me, the other side of this is on defense, it would really help if Charlotte could force some turnovers.
Get some pressure, yeah.
Force some turnovers, get some short field working there so your offense doesn't have to go as far, get some points out of it. It sets you up for a much better day than if you're constantly having to hold on for dear life on defense. And more time you spend on the field, the more gassed you're going to get. And it's going to then involve how good is your depth, because you're not stopping anybody, you're worn out, and then as the game goes on, you're out there all pretty much by yourself because you're not getting an offensive part of this going. It's an issue. But I think winning the turnover battle, eliminating your mistakes, and for Pete's sake, let your dual threat quarterback live up to the tag.
Mm-hmm. Look, I agree with everything you mentioned. I think ultimately what it comes down to is finding some kind of offensive rhythm. Their defense elevating their play enough to, like you mentioned, get them some short fields. Because I mean, I could be wrong. I don't have this stat written down in front of me, but I can't remember a drive that started past their own 30 against UNC. I mean, if you're having to start basically from a touchback or just past the touchback every time on punts, you're not getting a short field. You're not putting your offense in any kind of advantage. So there's that aspect of it. But ultimately, I think Charlotte is going to eke out a win. I'm going to try to stay half glass full like Albin's been. I think they're going to get a win. I think it's going to be a tight game. I don't want it to be a tight game, but I've got to win this game like a 24-20 type.
Yeah, that is mighty tight. And that may not be enough to quiet the criticism.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll just see. And I guess the first things first, you want to be able to get a win, regardless of the spread or the amount of the win. It would make everybody feel better, 49ers Nation, to be able to get a 2 or 3 touchdown win out of this. But they're going to have to come up with some offense or a bunch of pick sixes to make that happen. But we'll see how that works. So, it's early. And so for all you folks out there, who bleed green and gold, ease up, man. It's early.
It is. And I mean, I haven't seen an official line for this on like DraftKings or FanDuel. There was someone who on a forum said the initial spread came out and it was like 14 points in Charlotte's favor. I'm like,
Yeah.
But then I've also seen somewhere it was like 3 or 4. Now, that I can see. I don't see no 14 points. If it is 14 points, take Monmouth.
Well, but the main thing is you want to be able to see some improvement.
Absolutely.
Hopefully a win will come with it this week, but you want to be able to see some improvement. And the improvement has been slow. Let's put it that way.
Well, I'll let you put a bow on it before we get to our last topic for this podcast. But who wins?
Well, let's see. I'm going to go Charlotte 24-17.
Okay.
I think the defense will do just enough to make it possible.
Fair enough. Pivot to high school football.
Okay.
Talk about your M7. Oh, boy, I can't wait.
But it's not like it was chaos last week. You had several teams in the previous week's rankings that lost. Got some newcomers in. And again, like I said, the way that I do the ranking is who's having the best season. It's not to the most talented. It's not necessarily to the unbeaten. It's who's having the best season as of the week. So Huff is 3-0, still number 1, followed by Chambers, which moved up from 7th to 2nd. It's 3-0.
Oh, boy.
And Myers Park, which previously was unranked. So I got to give the Mustangs their flowers, and frankly, Chambers too. So that's 3 unbeaten teams in the top 3. Everybody else has at least 1 loss. West Charlotte has 2, and the Lions are 4th. So I would say that's probably about where they need to be.
Just let me know when I can tee off because I'm ready.
Well, you go, followed by Palisades, which lost last week. But West Charlotte also lost, by the way. Independence lost. And, well, no, they beat Charlotte Catholic.
Christian.
I'm sorry. Christian. And then Audrey Kell, which is 2-1. Okay, there you go.
All right. Get my reporter voice in tune. I don't dislike the ranking. Okay, I'll go ahead and say that. I know you don't care if I did.
Well, that's part of the job.
But when I do rankings, I factor in strength of schedule. Probably more than most. Chambers at 3-0. They went from 7th to 2nd. I would have had them right behind West Charlotte. I would have had Myers Park probably ahead of Chambers, just based on Myers Park's results against Weddington. Big time talent, a state title winner a couple seasons ago. I would have been Huff, Myers Park, West Charlotte, Chambers is my top 4. And reason being, West Charlotte's 1-2. They've had 2 overtime losses to perennial powers. Grimsley and the opener, and then down in Rock Hill against South Point, who South Point is going to be a 4A state title contender down there. Losing those games, to me, doesn't paint the picture of, okay, West Charlotte's worse than Chambers. I know you love to base it on winning, and that is very true. You could base it strictly on winning, but when you factor in the opponent's Chambers play versus West Charlotte at 1-2 is just as good, if not better, at Chambers than 3-0. That's opinion, sure, but talented teams, when you schedule talented teams, one's got to be a winner, one's got to be a loser. And I think if you put Chambers in West Charlotte's schedule, I think they're probably winless. And that's no slight at Captain Munderland and those boys over at Chambers. I don't want y'all coming at my neck for saying that. I just think West Charlotte has scheduled juggernauts and
lost to them,
but they beat Monroe convincingly. I know Monroe, they got beat bad back-to-back weeks by West Charlotte and Weddington, but I think that just shows you how good a team like Weddington and West Charlotte are. That's just my opinion. I'm not just saying that because Sam Grinder's my buddy or anything. I told him myself, I think that they should have done a few things different, and they probably would have been on the winning result of that South Point game. But look, 5th, 6th, and 7th, I agree with. Independence being unranked last week for dropping that game to Huff. I told you how I felt about that. I don't think
5-0 will kill your chances.
Yeah, but I don't think you take a team from 4th to out based on one loss to the top-ranked team. I mean, you're talking about they lost to the number 1 team in the M7. You're going to drop them all the way out. They've earned their way back in. They got a good opponent coming to town tomorrow in Lake Norman. I think that'll be a good game. And I think if they win that game, they might even get a little bump. I know Palisades plays Chambers, so that'll be an interesting game to see. I know they've got a common opponent in there in Clover. I know Palisades lost to Clover. Chambers beat them. How that factors in, I know some people like to factor in common opponents as well, but some people don't. Overall, rankings are pretty solid. I would put Myers Park above Chambers just because Myers Park absolutely routed a good J.M. Robinson team. They beat a really, really good Weddington team. So, I think Myers Park would have been 3rd, but overall, pretty solid. Now that I'm done on my soapbox, do you have a rebuttal?
Oh, no. It's already out there. And as far as the schedules, in terms of scheduling difficult opponents, you can trust and believe that if West Charlotte were, let's say, Providence in 1-2, they would not be in that 7. Let's put it like that.
Yeah.
So, like I said, West Charlotte is the only 2-loss team in this. It is a testament to what West Charlotte has done that they're still in it. Because if they were anybody else or a lesser club, let's put it that way, and 1-2, somebody else would be in that spot.
Well, I've got a point. What happened to Mallard Creek? Mallard Creek was ranked ahead of Independence, ahead of Audrey Kell and all these teams. They lose one game to the best team anybody in the state's going to play in Grayson out of Georgia, who's top 5 in the country.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they lost bad. Okay? It was expected, though. You drop Independence all the way out for losing the Huff.
You expect to get dragged like that?
I'm saying from the outside looking in, I would have expected Grayson to win that game pretty convincingly. And you drop them all the way out, and you move a team like Audrey Kell in, and Audrey Kell's got a loss too to a much weaker opponent than Grayson out of Georgia.
Okay, but the point is, AK is playing better ball right now in terms of the result.
Yeah,
the result is the result. And like I said, this is not built to do anything but reward winning. So if you lose, you're going to fall. They were in a spot where falling meant falling out.
Look, you're talking
But we're gonna have plenty of time to debate this. And the best part of this is that these teams will ultimately settle it amongst themselves on the field the way it should be done. So don't be mad because folks have dropped out this week. All you got to do is win. Play your way in. That's all.
Yeah, but I don't think some teams played their way out. But look, I could go on and on. I mean, Audrey Kells, that's
another podcast.
But they beat them. Okay, all right. I'll get off my soapbox. We're gonna get a little too long-winded here, but I'll break us down this podcast.
Okay.
Visit thecharlottepost.com. Become a donor. Become a subscriber. Look, we love producing this content for all of y'all, but at the end of the day, it's not free to produce. So, if you like the content, chip in a few dollars. It'll go a long way. If everybody's chipping in a little bit here and there, it adds up quick. So, we encourage you to do that. Subscribe to our sports newsletter. It comes out every Thursday. Herb's Magnificent 7 was right there this morning. Regardless if I agree with his methodology or not, it was there. Be sure to check that out. And from everyone here at the office in beautiful Derrida, that's Herb, the editor-in-chief. I'm Cam, the staff reporter. Thanks for watching and listening. And go out and support your favorite team tomorrow night with Friday Night Lights. And Saturday when Charlotte takes on Monmouth. And if you want to travel and like Herb here to watch the Golden Bulls at Elizabeth City State, feel free to do that as well. And we'll have all the coverage and the roundups after that. Thank you.